Alright, what's up everybody? So, took the kayak out this morning and knew there was a crack at the top right there at that scupper hole, but didn't realize that there was one inside of that scupper hole that goes all the way down to the through the hole. So when I got done, I had about 3 gallons of water inside. So what I've done is I've taken off the rear hatch. From being on the kayak cart for so long before I purchased it, it had warped. This back portion right here was warped up, and underneath was warped in. So that's what caused that crack. So you can see that crack right there. And then there's also one down inside. There's a little one right here, and it goes down inside where you can actually see inside of the hole. So what I did was I took a heat gun and I'd heat up the whole top, and then I'd stand on it. And then I'd take the boat and I'd flip it up on its side, heat it from the bottom, heat both scupper holes from the bottom, these two, and then heat the top after I laid it down and stand on it. So what I have now is almost a flat deck, like it's supposed to be. It's probably about 1 centimeter high right there, but I think that'll get fixed once I fill in these cracks. So that's where I'm at right now. Got to clean this whole thing up. It's super dirty. So what I've learned, number one, is take your time with a heat gun. It took me probably 2 or 3 hours just to get it to where I wanted. I probably could have done it quicker, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't actually damage the kayak and I was just reforming it back to the way it was. So it handled great. I stood up in it today. Really no issues, but I think that water that was on the inside kind of caused a little instability, which would be expected if there's water inside of your craft. So up next, fix right there where that little rise is. Fix that crack, fix this tiny little crack right here, and then fix the one that goes down into the scupper to the bottom of the kayak. I have a heat gun, I have a welding iron for plastic, I have some high density polyethylene or HDPE, anything with the recycle number 2 on it can be used. I actually called Ascend. I left them a message to see if I could get some replacement plastic to match, but they're not open on the weekends, so I'm going to do with what I got. It's a used kayak. I don't really care if I use black or if I use that light tan. So I'll keep you posted, and then I'll show you updates. Alright, so I had a small crack here. I've drilled 2 1/16 inch holes on either side, and then I scored it so that the plastic would take. I have an old protein jug here, number 2, HDPE, that's all you need. And we're gonna see if we can't weld this crack up. Alright, so there it is, the first weld. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll definitely work. So I heated the whole thing up with the heat gun, then I cut a piece of the jug. Cut a way too big a piece. You don't need that much at all. The smaller the better. Use a pair of needle nose pliers to hold it, and then just take your iron. Mine's still pretty hot. Make sure your iron's all the way hot. If it's not hot enough, then it just gets frustrating, so let it heat up all the way. Take your iron and then just smooth it out as best as possible. They sell rubber rollers so you can make it look prettier. This is my first time. I'm not really worried about it being pretty. I just want it to be waterproof and for it to hold. So that's really it. You can also just use a heat gun too. You just heat up the plastic until it's flexible and it won't stand up on its own, and just lay it down, and just you can use a screwdriver or a putty knife, and then just kind of smooth it out and flare the edges out so it trails away from your crack. So we'll see how it goes. So I did 3 welds. There's 1, 2, 3. That was the first one I did. That was the second one I did. And the third one goes all the way down and around. All the way way through the scupper, just about down to the bottom of the hole. I would not recommend this for a first-time person. This kind of crack right here, this crack right here, but having to go down all the way through the scupper, I actually put a piece of wire mesh on the inside of the hole back here on the scupper hole. So it gave me some adhesion on the inside because it was a pretty big crack, and then simply welded plastic on the inside of the scupper and then down through what would be the outside here of the scupper. Now I'm going to clean up around this hatch, and then apply a silicone bead to this guy. So there's supposed to be a bead of silicone all the way through this trough right here and all the way around and back. So what had happened was the guy who had it before me, because he left it on the cart so much outside, this whole thing bowed up a good 2 inches. Well, I fixed that. I've got it just about flat now, or as flat as I can get it, and the rear hatch actually sits just about flat. You can see right here where this crack is. There's still a little rise right here. Sorry about that. There's a little rise right here, but nothing that's going to do anything crazy. So that'll be the next step, and then we'll clean this thing up and try to get it all back together. So here is the final product of my rear hatch, where I did my welding, my plastic welding, and reforming of the rear platform, or the rear stowage area. Can't really see it. I resealed with black silicone. I just used GE. So it was good for plastics, water, weather, windows. So I've heard that 3M 5200 down to 4000 is probably the best, but I figured I was going to have to pull this out, which I am. I'm actually going to pull these little caps again. I'm going to put bolts with nuts on the back. The little brackets that hold these screws in are pretty rusted from water being in there. So this is it. I'm going to take it out tomorrow, see how it holds up. You can kind of see, yeah, so there's one weld goes underneath, the other weld right there, and then the third one that goes down into the scupper. They all feel pretty solid. I stood on it, nothing broke, so pretty happy about that. But we'll see how it holds up tomorrow, and then we still have to do the trolling motor rewire so that it can run from the back of the kayak with control panel at the seat. And then I'm going to move those LEDs to underneath the seat. They're actually a little too bright for up there. I just need a little ambient light. So I'm going to push those back a little bit. But as I do it, I'll keep you guys up to date. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. And this is the first time I did any of this, so it can be done. You just need a heat gun and a plastic welder. I borrowed both of them, so we'll see how it works out.